And we are live on Oz Property Investors. That was very quick. We bring the big names and we have the big fun. How you going, Mr. Tucker? What's going?
Oh, having a great day. I'm ready for tonight. I'm absolutely ready for tonight, mate. How are you? More
Yeah, I've
importantly.
had free coffees today. So as we were talking, somebody like me should not have free coffees. So if I'm bouncing off these studio walls today, you'll have to hold me back, bring me back to ground. But I'm pumped. I'm excited to share some wisdom. And I saw you buying properties, buying $16 million worth apparently this year so far. At least you did that so I can say that, I can share that. So,
You can.
but
You
yeah, just
can.
pumped. So let's get on it, man. Let's shall we get into the quote of the week, and then I'll
Quote of
give
the
you.
week. Yes. Give me your quote of the week, mate. What is your quote of the week?
So my quote of the week is: research is creating new knowledge. So we're talking about kind of boots on the ground. So I think for me, boots on the ground is about research and understanding that knowledge, because data is one thing. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But and Neil Armstrong, he discovered some new things, didn't he? Apparently, back in the
The
60s.
moon was not made of cheese, in fact.
Yeah.
Not
So
made of cheese.
that is my quote.
That's a good quote, mate. It's 100%. Knowledge opens up the world, and it gives you a better perspective of what to look at. My quote of the week is: your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. A little bit of motivation there from Steve Jobs.
Yeah, good old Jobsy. Rest in peace, Mr. Jobs. Potentially controversial figure, but for people watching, drop a comment and throw the. I see there's already one, so there's going to be plenty of time for questions as well. So if you want to drill Joe about his backlights, or that's a funny way of saying things, isn't it? But yeah, no, it's going to be a fantastic.
What are we going to be talking about?
What was that?
What is this session about, Jeff? What are the people going to be learning?
What are we going to be learning? So we've done many live sessions about the data. So we've done data deep dives. Joe did his first on Shepparton, and then we did a data deep dive on the Moreton Bay region. The two of us did a little bit on that. Then we looked at Townsville. Then it was WA, and our most recent one was on Geelong. So so we've shown the data and all that sort of deep dive things. So if you want to see those sessions, let us know, and I'll drop, if you let us know which of those locations you want to see, I'll drop a link to those and you can watch those back. But we're going to be going deeper. We're going to be getting our boots on, or sandals or high heels, whatever shoe you want to wear. If you want to go bare feet, then you can do that too. But we're going to be getting deep. So the things we're going to be talking about we're going to be talking about the rule. We'll go into the data initially, but we're going to help you find the best investment property for you in the best location at the best price. So that's something that Joe does day in, day out. So we want to understand the rules about these boots on the ground, the suburb fundamentals, about the A to E. I believe you've got some letters there, but also the things you think to think about when you're actually inspecting these properties. So there's going to be plus much more. So what did I miss, Joe? Did I miss anything?
Mate, not you haven't missed too much, mate. But I think it's crucially important. I think a lot of people focus on the data, and it's true. The location does 80% of the heavy lifting. If you're buying a good location, you're going to do pretty all right. But that other 20% isn't really spoken about too much. People don't talk too much about how do you actually inspect a property? What is a hot spot? Where is an area that is a not spot? What are the things that we need to look for in those locations that are going to tell us that I shouldn't be buying in that street? And I go street by street looking at where are the areas that I want to cut out and where are the areas that I want to actually go to, and then I hone in and go to them. And we'll talk about all of that. So I'm pumped to unpack it. This is going to be an education. To be honest, this is going to be one of the most education-packed sessions that we have. So if you are new to property investing, you're probably going to enjoy this one. If you're old to property investing, there might be a few things that you can throw into your repertoire to help you on the inspection side of things as well.
Yeah, you can. I'm excited. So let's we're going to dive into it after our first little rendezvous down the property lane. Let's do that, Joe.
There's nothing worse than going into a situation unprepared, especially when that situation is purchasing one of the most expensive assets of your life against a trained property expert in the form of a real estate agent. It's a scary thought, but it is a skill that can be taught. Do you want to learn how to become fully prepared when buying a property so you can get out there, buy your dream home or investment property without the fear of actually messing it up? Scott Agate, the founder and expert property negotiator at Hello House, has been helping people buy their properties by stepping in and negotiating with the agents and saving his clients tens of thousands, and in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Scott has now decided to share all that he's learned over the past 28 years in real estate so you can go out there and do the exact same thing on how to find a property, analyze that property, negotiate on that property, and transact on it to get the best results. He's created the Get Buyer Ready course, which is a step-by-step guide on how you too can become an expert property negotiator. It's the easy way of how you can avoid all of these agent games and get the best purchase price on that dream home or your investment property. The course is in short bites for busy people with no fluff at all. Just all the information you need to get buyer ready and secure that next property with confidence at the best price. Scott has been kind enough to give our community a massive discount with the link below. Sign up today before you even think about putting an offer on that next property, and it will be one of the best decisions you ever make.
There we go. So young Hayden was saying that I've got to pump up the coffee numbers beyond free. I don't know who the heck is drinking more than that's concerning, Hayden. But it's not about good old God. I don't know how many he has a day. But no, who is them? If you have not seen Joe Ticker Tucker, sorry, that's a mouthful. Say that 15 times fast. Then I'm not sure who he's the co-admin of OzProp, but he's all about education and value. But who is he though? So he spent over 13 years, I think that 13 plus years. So that could be at least 13 years and 1 month in sale, research, and negotiation experience of property and legal tech. But more importantly, though, Joe has his own multi-million-dollar property portfolio, and he's purchased, as I said before, $16 million of property this year. So a few deals here and there. So I reckon he could get at least another 16 million in the next month and a half. Maybe not. Maybe that's a bit of a challenge, but I reckon he could, Joe. Just don't sleep.
I'll go for it.
Yeah. I reckon. So you are founder of one of Australia's largest, or co-founder, largest property investor communities, OzProp. That is us. But I think what you love doing, though, is finding an epic deal. So is there anything I missed there, Joe? What do you like to do in your spare time?
Spare time? Find property, run the group. This is it, right? Yeah. And this is how the whole thing started, right? This is how we became a buyer's agent. We started this group like 3 years ago, just sharing our experience of how we like to buy property and growing our wealth through property, and just sharing the love. And that's how we kind of got to this point. And I've prepared a whole heap of information for this boots on the ground adventure, because this is one of the things that I think differentiates the way that I do things as opposed to the way, like, I think I said this before. I bought a property through my first property. The biggest mistake that I made was going through a buyer's agent for my first property, a buyer's agent that was not necessarily the best person for the job. It was a disastrous experience. I bought it for $280,000. I thought I was going to do a $10,000 renovation. And it turns out to, be $30,000, and mistakes. But the problem was, it was my fault. It was my fault for handing over my keys to my financial future to somebody else without getting educated. I read the books, but I didn't take the action. I didn't question the agent. I didn't do a lot of things. I didn't do my own due diligence before I bought that property. So it was a big mistake. So that's what I love sharing. And
I suppose I wouldn't necessarily say, like, whilst it was your responsibility, I don't know always if it was your fault. I think it's the fault somewhat of I wouldn't say the buyer's agent industry, but just the property. We just kind of think that it's all about, like, I suppose it is somewhat about buying the property, but it's kind of about understanding what are those fundamentals you're looking at. And there's some of the things that we're going to be going through, and some of the research you prepared. So it's kind of, the data is one thing. So if you've got somebody only presenting the data, what about the other side of things, the boots on the ground? So that's why I think we needed to, I think it was great. It's great to get you on to tell the other side of the boots on the ground story. So shall we kick it off?
Yeah, the boots on the ground story. So we're going to do a little bit of a share slide thing. So let me just bring that up. But this is going to be all about the 20%. So 80% of the heavy lifting is done by the suburb selection, and it's crucially important. But let's share. Can you see, Jeff? Let's pop ours over here.
Share. There we go.
Maybe if we go.
I kind of like it the side. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Perfect. Okay. This is not going to be boring, I promise. I hope.
No,
Let
it's
me know if
definitely
it
not.
gets
It's not
boring.
not death by PowerPoint. I mean, look at the light bulb there. That's exciting.
Look,
That's
it's the light bulb moment. It's the light
yeah,
bulb moment of when I was standing on the top of my stairs of my recently settled property, stairs that I would have to replace for $12,000 after buying a shit asset, a shit property in a shit location. That made me realize that we need, maybe there's a better way, which is where I met Jeff. Jeff, we did a lot of education together, but how to find the best investment property for you. And we're going to kind of cover off this first bit a bit quickly. It's going to give you a bit of a frame for what we're going to talk about, and then we'll dive straight in. The ultimate goal of every property investor is buying the best property in the best location at the best price. Now, those three things, they make sense, right? That's obviously the goal of everybody. But the big part here is for the buyer brief. This is what is the key point. What is actually your buyer brief? Because the best property in the best location at the best price for you, Jeff, is completely different to what's for me. Or a 40-year-old with $2 million of disposable income and equity is going to be different to, an everyday Joe.
or Jane as well. The thing I think that that's the thing I see a lot of in the posts in the group. It's that everybody says, okay, where is the best place to buy a property? And it's so hard. Okay, like you can buy the best property, but what does that actually mean? Like what is your brief? Because if you don't have your brief, you can't really understand what the best property is for you. So I know that seems really basic, but I think it's a thing that a lot of people, they want to go straight to the end point, which until you've done that work yourself.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, right? And also your goal is not to look at what this next purchase is. Your goal is to look at what is this next purchase that's going to allow me to get into the next one. So whenever you speak to your mortgage broker, whenever you speak to your buyer's agent, whenever you speak to your professionals, say, hey, just letting you know, this is not my last purchase. I want to know what this purchase needs to be with my current borrowing capacity and situation to allow me to get to the next one. Because if you don't have those conversations, you'll say, hey, I have a borrowing capacity of 900,000. Perfect. Let's go buy you a $900,000 property. They'll go out there and do it. Then you'll try and go for another one and you won't be able to buy it. And then you'll have a property that may be a little bit too cash flow negative. And then, most people stop at 2 or 3 properties. You've got
the other thing I find people do is they focus a lot on the cash flow side of things, which cash flow works. But I'm not saying capital growth is the only you should focus on. People kind of say, oh, look, I want to make sure the cash flow works, but then they neglect what they then sort of get is they get an asset that then may not see capital growth, which you can never guarantee capital growth, of course. But the thing I like about a lot of stuff that you do and a lot of stuff that we've sort of learned along the way is sort of how can you make money in multiple ways as well. It's not purely about, relying on the market, because as I've seen, like the market doesn't always go up. Sometimes it tracks sideways. And if you're relying upon getting to the next purchase with equity, then how do you sort of, as you say, buy below market value? It's hard for me to say that. Like it feels awkward. No, it's all good. But let's get into it, Joe. So tell us about, I want to hear an anecdote. I want to hear a story about, you had a bit of a funny story or an interesting or a witty story, apparently. What's this story about buying boots?
Witty story. I don't know. It's not even that. It's not even that exciting. It was, it's not even, I feel like you've pumped it up to be, but I think this just shows the value and the power of, boots on the ground. That's really the purpose of this story. So I spent a week in Victoria driving around to all of the key places. So maybe if we just skip ahead real quick. I think now this is what I do. I create a wonderful slideshow and then I just throw it all out the window. Actually, here we go. This is the goal, right? The goal is to figure out what you don't want. So what you have left is the dream property, right? So it's more of a reductionist method. So you look at your budget, how much money have you got? So I've got $500,000. I need a yield. I've spoken to my broker and he said, Joe, you need to get a minimum yield of 4.5%. Okay, so that's where I need to go. Location-wise, hell no, I'm not buying in Northern Territory. Okay, well, I'm not buying in Northern Territory. I'm not buying in here. I don't like this. I've got some preconceived notion about this area. Okay, then you start to whittle it down. So there's 15,000 suburbs, 3,800 have reliable data. You overlay that with your budget and you start to cut things down. Then when you've got your 2 to 3 locations, that's when you can jump in a car, jump on a plane, and start going to those locations and assessing them. And we'll talk about how we assess them.
So can I ask you a couple of questions based on what you said there, Joe? And I hope maybe I'm going a bit beyond here. We're a bit concerning. So you said there's first thing you said is about somebody has a preconceived idea about a location or where they want to buy. If somebody comes to you a brief and says, I want to buy in Queensland, and we all know that Queensland's done relatively well. How do you then? What are your thoughts on what if that's not the best location for them? How do you have that conversation? It's a tough question.
Well, no, it's a fair enough question because you need to just talk to reality. Like I have a client that is that is an amazing investor. He's done incredibly well. He's got 5 properties. He's got 2 in Queensland, 2 in WA, and 1 in South Australia. And now he wants 2 in South Australia. Now, for the brief that he has, he is looking for a higher growth and yield potential. Mm-hmm. So for his actual brief, I actually think there are pockets in WA that are going to provide a better cash flow and yield for him. But he has already got 2 in there. He doesn't want to buy in WA. He wants to buy in South Australia. So it's just setting the expectation of, well, these are the results we're going to expect. This is what we can expect from South Australia. As long as you're on board with that, that's absolutely fine. But if you're looking for the best property in the best location for the best price for the buyer brief, we just need to find out what that buyer brief is and tailor it to that.
Because I suppose regardless of whether you're using a BA or not, because like I've gone both approaches and I see benefit, pros and cons. Because I think that people even doing it alone, they go through the same quandary in their head. They're like, I need to buy in Queensland because of X, Y, and Z reason. To me, I don't know. It's an interesting kind of concept because then you sort of like I think it's important to have those conversations, set your own expectations if you decide to not use a BA. So whether you're using a BA or not. Sort of say, okay, I know that it's had a good run, so I'm expecting that. So, the other one I wanted to say is you said 3,700 of whatever it was, reliable suburbs. 3,000
reliable data on it, 3,800, yeah.
So how many, what does reliable data, sorry, I'm sort of taking down a rabbit hole here, but I'm doing a Joe. The reliable data, so what's the definition of reliable data?
So like there's not enough sales, there's not enough listings coming onto the market. So with there's 15,000 suburbs in Australia. There's a lot. But there's also a lot that just don't fit. Like there's a whole heap in WA, there's a whole heap in Northern Territory, there's a whole heap in northern South Australia, a number in Western Tasmania. Like there's just not enough sales and data to actually be able to come up with a decision of this is a good location and this is worthwhile. So
can you release what the statistically reliable number is, or is that Joe's secret sauce that he can't tell?
No, just different things, right? Like just sales volume and So like sales volumes, listing volumes, it's a whole, like if there's not enough data there, it's just not, you can't really make a decision. Like if there's 3 sales in a suburb one month and it's 500,000, a million, and then 2 million, and then next month it's 200,000, 200, and then 200. So, well, I can't really say the median price is 700,000.
Fair enough.
Anyway, so going back to the story that I'm going to briefly touch on now, I feel like we're going to drag it on. So I did this, right? I did the research. I found my locations. I used all the data to find where to go. But most importantly, I got my little butt over there, jumped on a plane, flew down to Victoria, drove around to all of the areas and selected the few that I liked. And then I got to one area in particular, and the data was all there. It had the fundamentals. It had good infrastructure going in. There was stuff in the pipeline. But when I got there, I had a chat with one of the hotel owners, and he was just the most miserable person ever. He's like, this town sucks. They're talking about all this infrastructure coming in. It's not actually coming. The jobs aren't here. The council is doing this. Like he gave me a full rundown, and this is very important. Like you got to have conversations with these people to understand it. Then I had more conversation with the cafe owners and all of this. And then I sat down in the street and I'm like, this doesn't feel like a good suburb. Like this isn't a place that I actually like. I don't know why anyone would want to live here. And for me, if you get a bad feeling about something, I'm just not going to put. I spent the money and the research and the fuel to get down there, but for me, I'm like that's a no-go zone for me. I'm just not going to buy in that location. Obviously, I'm not going to share that location, but you can figure it out yourselves. But for me, boots on the ground saved my butt, because other people would say, oh, this is a great data. This is all fantastic. The council's doing this thing. You call up the council. Yeah, there's delays in this, delays in that. So you've got to do your due diligence on the area and chat to the local people as well.
Yeah, and sort of to that as well, see if it aligns with your kind of tolerance of risk. Because if you're hearing that kind of conversation from multiple people, then the data might look fantastic. But if the people in that town aren't particularly fond of living there, then what is the risk then that there's going to be other people that will have that same approach, and owner occupiers won't move in and sort of will pick up, make sure that there does sort of see growth. Because if it's not desirable, then why are people going to move there and pay more for the property, I suppose?
Yeah. And investment in investment for small businesses is very important. Like if you walk up a main street and all of the businesses have been renovated and upkept and look beautiful, that people have faith in that suburb. But when they're not, it's a little bit too much of a risk.
I like to even sort of say where there's like nice Italian trendy restaurants sort of coming into it. Well, maybe not Italian, but let's say trendy restaurants and cafes, like good old cafes as well. Like that's kind of we're getting a little
desirability list.
Getting a little esoteric here, but
okay,
that's what boots. Let's get into it.
This is it. So high level. If you want to go out there and do this yourself, work out what your budget is, work out what your yield has to be, work out some of the locations that you think are valuable, crunch the data, and then also value add. Think about the strategy that you want to employ. You need to overlay that with your risk tolerance and your time tolerance and your skill tolerance. How much skill have you got? How much time have you got to go do a renovation? Or how much skill have you got? Can you do a 1:2 subdivision? Can you do a 1:3 subdivision? What can you do? And then go to the suburbs that have that stuff. Anyway, I talk about the fab of property investing. It's a bit of a silly term. My wife's British and they say fab all the time. So I thought it was funny. But essentially, it stands for fundamentals. These are the fundamentals of the area, analysis, and boots on the ground. So quickly just cover off this supply and demand. We already know all of that crap, blah, blah, blah.
Watch our lives on Facebook. We talk it wax lyrical about this. So if you want to see that, let us know. And I'll drop some.
Well, there's a heap of sessions that we've done talking about supply and demand. I'm going to talk very fast, so you're going to have to listen very fast.
Interesting, Joe. Tell us about these points. That looks new. Can we talk to that, or is it
this is the fundamentals, right? We're talking about the F of the fab. So the fundamental drivers of demand, these are the things that push demand forward. So what you can do as an individual is go out there and score each of these points 1 to 5. So I'm looking at 3 individual suburbs because that's what you've done. You've gone and looked at all the research, which is what this is, the fundamentals, the key, and then you just rank each of these points. So population, who are the people living there? Are they going to drive capital growth? Employment, is there a diverse workforce? Have people got money? What kind of money have they got? What kind of jobs have they got? Where is the money coming from? Are people leaving the city? Are they coming in? Projects, what is the infrastructure coming in? What projects are going on? What's the council doing? Are they adding a new swimming pool, a new aquatic center, a new theater system? Like, what are they doing? What investments are they making? What do the roads look like? All of that stuff. Then desirability is exactly what you were talking to there before, Jeff. Cafes. Is it trendy? What are drawing owner occupiers to this location and what's pushing them away? Like if you go to a town and it's got a ratty old, tennis court and that's all there is, no one goes there. It might not be like, that's not desirable. So that gets a 1. And then minus the supply of stock.
Sounds more of an art, this sort of side of things, or there's not.
No, well, oh god, no. I mean, no. It's art and science, and this is the thing. Where is it? There. All of this is art and science. There is no specific like you can't put a number. You can't really put a number on these type of things. Here's actually a great little comment that's just come up from Brian. Join the local community Facebook groups and it will give you a great window into the area. Beautiful. Yep. Like that's going to give you some really, really good insights of people, what people hate, what people love. I love that one. Great. Thanks, Brian. So anyway, this is the fundamental drivers. This is not what we're talking about here. The analysis is the next one. So FAB. So this is the analysis. This is where you found the key areas. You've graded them now. Now we've got to start looking at where is the data going. Are the days on markets trending down?
You fixed the slide as well, Joe. I'm impressed.
I spent a lot of time on this. Too much time.
Yeah.
Inventory levels, what are they looking like? Listing volumes, are the vacancy rates low enough? Have you got enough rentals? What is the yield? Does the yield actually give you what you want? Like if you're looking at an area that is a 3% yield and you need a 5, done. There you go. See you later. I got to move on to the next one. What is the rent proportion? If there's a large percentage of renters, the area is just not going to have potentially as much growth. You want more owner occupiers. That's a better thing. Are people discounting? And what is the supply and demand of the area?
Can I ask a not controversial, but an interesting question about, you said there, I want to pick up on the point about the yields, say 5% of 3%. Let's just say if an area was roughly 4.5% and 5%, how much stretch do you have on that?
That's a really good question. I had an email that I was sending to someone actually just the other day. You need to just chill out with the yield side of things, people, because if you've got a $400,000 purchase and it's a 4.5% property or a 5% deal, we're not talking about a lot of money here. We're talking about
probably 20 or 30 bucks, or maybe even 10 or 15 bucks a week, roughly.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the difference between a good property manager and a bad property manager, 20 bucks a week. So I do say, like, if my goal is 4.5%, I would drop that down to about 4 and start looking at the suburbs that are 4 and above, and then start cherry picking out the best ones, because I know that the median rent is for a 3-bedroom house is $400 a week. But I know good property managers that will be able to squeeze the juice and get me 430 because they know how to list, they know how to style, they know how to bring in the attention. So that's actually a great question, Jeff.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to say is, I mean, when you're looking at the 4% properties, because generally that'll mean the property has grown in the area. Would you typically sort of manage your own or others' expectations and sort of say, okay, it's at 4% now, it's probably experienced a good amount of growth. I might see some rental growth, but capital growth might be a bit light on, or you don't sort of think that, you don't think as deeply as that? Am I overthinking it?
No, you're not overthinking it. I mean, what happens is you get pushed out of a suburb. So for me, my kind of threshold, I have a threshold for this suburb. The value that I see properties going for the next, 3 to 6, 12 months is here. So as soon as, like, the suburbs that I now love, I absolutely love. I'm going to even give away one of my favorite suburbs in South Australia. And anyone that's been there will say, oh, yeah, I totally get that. That makes perfect sense. I can totally understand why you love that suburb called Hallett Cove in South Australia. It's on the west coast of South Australia. It is a beautiful little spot. It's on nice hills. It overlooks the water. It's absolutely spectacular. There was some incredible buying there about 9 months ago, 12 months ago. And we cleaned up. But the problem is the prices have now gone above our pricing threshold, and we no longer see value for the return that we're getting. So unfortunately, I can't buy there anymore. So
shout out to Terry Reese, is a local there as well.
Terry Reese is a local there, and Terry got a cracking property that he showed it to us actually on one of these lives where he's adding a bedroom and adding a bathroom. That's where he adds the value, and choosing a great location as well.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we boots on ground, or we
okay. Yes. Boots on the ground. So, while this is a data-led and scientific methodology, no methodology is perfect. You need to confirm what the data is telling you.
You've even got a car that's like you've got a moving car. How cool is that, man? You've gone
doing a burnout. We've gotten to the 80%, right? We've done our data, we've done the analytics, and we've spoken about that before. We've deep dived into what all of that stuff is and how that all connects to the rest of the world. But the boots on the ground stuff is the 20% that is going to allow you to pick the eyes out of it and actually buy the best property in the best location at the best price.
And we will answer questions as well. We're going to go in some rules, but I see a couple of cracking questions going. So keep dropping those questions in and we will get to those. So keep watching. because you never know
Yes.
when we'll get to it.
We will.
Rules.
Rules. Okay. This is what you need to have when you're buying property. So again, just think you've got a massive plate here of every single property. My goal is to remove all of the junk so that I'm left with the gold, right? Like I'm panning for gold here. So I'm not going to have I'm not going to look at properties that are above 600,000 when my budget's 500,000. I'm not going to look at properties above below 4% yield. I'm not going to look at properties that are in a flood zone, that are in a fire zone, that are in a T-junction. So a T-junction is where the road meets and headlights just constantly go through your front windows, just all day.
You call it a T-junction, a T-section? Like, what's this T-junction? Oh, it's the same thing. I don't know. I'd call it T-section. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. There you go. T-sections. There you go. Potatoes. No main roads. So you don't want to be buying on a heavy main road. There are some roads that are like somewhat main, somewhat, they're fine. You just think, get on the boots on the ground. Stand on the road. Is this too loud? Is this too much? Yes. No.
It's up to you. You know that main road that goes, I think it's through Woodville and Woodville. Would you consider that a main road? I don't know exactly which one it is, but you probably know the one I'm talking about.
No, Jeff. How would I know that?
Well, I don't know,
that main road, the one I don't really know about, but that one,
I could give you the name of the road, but yeah.
Yeah, you can find. I think that one would like main north, whatever it is, main south road. Yeah, that's a main road. Like if it's yellow on Google Maps, that's typically a main road. But
that would be borderline for me. I'd be like, if it's a cracking deal, like maybe a corner block. But Joe's rules, he would say no.
Yes, I would say no, because if I'm an owner occupier, I'm not going to find that attractive. If I've got not on a main road, no covenants, no easements, no encumbrances, no caveats. Now, this is actually more to do with the contract itself, like when you actually get the contract. I've actually written down these things because for some reason, a difference between a covenant and a caveat is always tricking me up. So I wrote them down. I was going
to say, give us the definitions of these things.
A covenant is a promise that must be kept, like you can't paint the house this color, no pets allowed type of material used. A caveat is this is a legal injunction placed on the registration of dealings with the title. So these are bad. You don't want this. So this is like a spouse that owns half the property has put a caveat on the title to say, no, you can't sell that.
Or a bank, for example.
Or a bank. Yeah. Well, banks have a caveat over is that right, Jeff, from your broking background?
Yeah. Well, the caveat is they have an ownership. So, I mean, I don't know if they place a caveat on the property, but yeah.
They put it on the title. They got the first right of refusal for the mortgage.
Yep.
The other one is encumbrances. Now, an encumbrance is the right for someone else to use the land legally. So let's say you do a subdivision. There's like a battle axe subdivision. You have the right to use that roadway, right? The back person at the back block is allowed to drive up and down that roadway, that kind of thing. Another one is like in farmland, I have rights to access the hydrant on there and do whatever I want, blah, blah, blah. So those type of things. Now, I don't want them on my title because it stops me from doing something. So another example is I was looking at a deal, absolutely perfect. It had the right frontage. It wasn't in a fire. It wasn't in a flood. It didn't have any easements on it. Then I looked on the title and it had a covenant on there that didn't allow it didn't allow this exact street to be subdivided in any way. So it ticks the box for subdivision, but on the title, it wasn't allowed to be subdivided. So
was that a one in South Australia, Joe? I think.
Yeah, one in South Australia.
I think I've seen that one. You've spoken about that one before.
Yeah. Well, it's a perfect example of do all your due diligence because the agent's touting this thing as a project that you can go out there. Look, you're not going to knock it down anytime soon because by that time you're going to do that, I'm going to have retired and living my best life, and you're not going to know.
And I think you've raised a very important point. There is like double check and verify what the real estate agent. If you're doing this yourself, you absolutely have to verify if they're saying development potential or you can rent that as a granny flat. You have to make sure that what the agent telling, like they'll put all the disclaimers in there that if it doesn't turn out that it is, so you have to verify.
I tell you what, I've got a story if you've got time. Jeff, about
I
there
know where
was
to
an
go.
agent that said it was subdividable, and he's like, yeah, it is totally subdividable, and it was in a corner lot, but I knew not a corner lot, a cul-de-sac, so I knew it couldn't be subdivided because the frontage wasn't there. He got a surveyor to draw up plans to place a house in the back lot to make it look like you could actually subdivide it. And I was
Whoa.
like, this is crazy. Why do you think you can subdivide it? So on the town, on the plans, like I called the guy up and I'm like, hey, you did the things. Like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh yeah, they just said, can you draw plans up with a house on the back? And of course I can do that. That's got nothing to do with the actual potential of making that happen. So there's a lot of dodgy stuff that goes on out there. So you need to trust, but verify all of these things, all of these. Make sure you make sure you check. No covenants. Easements. An easement is access to water, and access for somebody else as well. Generally, it's water. So some blocks have a water pipe going through the back of it, so you can't build over the top of it. It's just like if SA Water or if Queensland Water wants to come in, or Ausgrid want to come in, there's a power box. That's an easement. So it's just so someone else can have access to
because
the property.
that can impact your costs with developing, because you need to figure out or even whether it is developable.
Well, you can't build over the top of it. So if there's an easement right up the middle of the block, you can't put one house over the top of it. You can't even put a shed over the top of it. Literally, it has to be free and clear access for anyone to do it. So that one's fun. So they're my rules. Guys, this isn't too hard. Rules. Oh wait, I still haven't finished. That was our last slide. I've copied these slides. I'm sorry, but just quickly, there are 5 levels of focus for capital growth. Start wide and then narrow in. Look at Australia wide. So Australia, what is going on with inflation? What is going on in what are the other things? Interest rates. What's going on Australia wide? If there's a war, these things impact the entire market. Look at COVID.
There's not a war in Australia. Gee, that'd be a bit concerning.
No, there's not. But if there was, it would affect the entire property market, right? Like COVID. Like COVID dropped the entire property market for a couple of months, and then the government printed billions and billions of dollars, and that liquidity needed to go somewhere, and it went into the Australian-wide property market. So it controls the absolute performance. So look at these macro factors, because that's affecting everything. But then once you understand the macro, start to look at the city level, and suburb level. This sparkling water's going straight to my head. The location does 80% of the heavy lifting for the property growth. Street level, ensuring that you're not buying on a hot spot. Sorry, you're buying a hot spot and not a not spot. And then the final piece of the puzzle is the property. What is the actual asset, and are you choosing the right property for that location at the right price?
So I got a couple of questions here, Joe. Yeah. So when you say Oz or macro kind of environment, how much credence or how much thing do you pay towards that? Because it's not necessarily something you have a lot of control over. So what are you sort of considering when you're looking at those things?
Well, I'm thinking about them all the time. I'm wondering what's going to happen with inflation and data or
interest rates.
What's going on with interest rates and stuff like that. Where is the government spending going? So if the government has created this new scheme to create 10,000 new homes, I want to know where those new 10,000 homes are going. Where are they going to put these houses? So that is going to affect the new first home buyer stamp duty concessions, where you don't have to pay stamp duty. You can pay an annual fee. What does that actually mean for the areas that I'm buying in? Is that going to explode the areas that I'm going? So I think it's very important to know from a macro perspective, but at the end of the day, if it's not affecting, like it's not going to fundamentally shift your area, then it's not going to affect you too much if you're buying right now.
Yeah. The other question I had is on the go back to, we'll bring the slides back up, because I wanted to know, ensuring you're buying in a hotspot and avoiding the not spot, because at what stage does a hotspot become too hot? Because you sort of say, okay, you don't want it to be dead, but if it's too hot, like, are you sort of buying as it's about to?
That's what we're going to talk to. Like, if the street is already brand new, the best, hottest street in the neighborhood, do you want to buy the best house on the best street, or do you want to buy the worst house on the best street? Like, where can you you want to find where are the areas that you want to buy and try and snag a cracking deal in there, rather than saying, oh wow, this street's so crap, I can't wait to buy the most expensive house on it. So yeah.
And that's where I suppose it's unlikely you're ever going to perfectly time that market, because to do that, if we could do that, trust me, I would be in the Bahamas now, sipping a couple of cocktails or two, and probably a trillionaire now. So you're not ever going to 100%.
You and Sam Bankman-Fried over there in the Bahamas.
Well, no, he's no, mate. I'm not in none of that sort of stuff. But yeah. So what I suppose what we're saying is, because the problem is you can try and analyze it until you're blue in the face. But the problem is eventually, if you just sort of say, oh, if you get a bit nervous, that's where I suppose your professionals like your Joes or even sort of, understanding, well, you're not ever going to buy the absolute perfect asset, but understanding, saying, what is going on in the street, and then making an informed decision, a risk-based decision.
Yeah, it looks like your name's now Sam. But this is a good question that's come up. Joe, can we expect a buyer's agent to do the research at all 5 levels, Australia, city, suburb, etc.? Yes, you are paying them for their knowledge and expertise. If they do not have this knowledge or expertise, get rid of them.
How do they demonstrate that, Joe? Is it through reports, or is it through conversation? Like how do they demonstrate?
It's through watching their live sessions like this, where they demonstrate their skills and knowledge of the 5 factors. But no, you've got to ask questions about, hey, what are your thoughts on interest rate rising? How is that going to affect this area? From a city level, what is some of the infrastructure coming into this place? Why is this place so interesting to you? On a street level, what are the fundamentals? Why is this a good street? What are some of the things? I think ask better questions, get better answers. So you've got to become a better question asker to get those type of questions. So ask questions about their expertise. Like you sit down, like you have a discovery call with these people, you can ask questions. So you're the one that has the financial future. It's your financial future. It's your keys. You've got to not hand them over. You've got to jump. They've got to jump in the car with you. You're like, oh no, I'm driving. Thank you very much. You're here to direct me to the best place. And I like to think like I guide people through the process. I'm hand holding them through the entire journey, making sure that they get the best place and the best property. But
that's the kind of thing that we all, well, not all of us, but that's the thing a lot of us do when we buy properties. We verify this information. So, and hopefully we're getting that information out there. So where are we going next, Joe? Are we going to the suburb level yet, or are we not quite? Am I jumping the gun?
I forget what I did. Bet boots on the ground. We're actually steaming through this. So.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Here we go. Okay.
Whoa.
God, this is a lot. I've written a lot of words here.
Yeah. Okay,
so now we're going to talk about the actual suburb. So now we've jumped on the plane. We know the area we know the 3 areas or 4 areas that we want to go to in South Australia, because we've determined South Australia is the suburb. We've determined Victoria is the suburb that fits our brief. Yes, the yields are a little bit low, but there's high growth in certain pockets. Happy days. Let's go there. So fly over to Victoria, hop on a plane, and then we want to start to look at these type of things. And the way you guys can do it is grade the property, grade the locations in each suburb, from A+ to E. Just give it a grade, like at school. So what is the social demographics? What kind of people are attracted to the area? Do they have money to spend? Go to the shops and just people watch. Sit in a cafe and just people watch. What is the social demographic? So I went to this location that I was talking about. The people were really nice, don't get me wrong, but they didn't have much money. So that is a 1. So I give it a 1.
How do you actually? Is it more like it's because some people could be dressed? How do you kind of know? They could be millionaires, Joe. You don't know. Yeah.
Rat's tails. Scooters.
Yeah, bloody mullets.
Mullets, most rich people have mullets nowadays, so
no. I mean,
you can't stereotype people, so you do have to have a soul and a heart with these type of things, and doesn't make people, if people don't have money, it doesn't make them a bad person. But you can tell when a suburb is a lower demographic, like there's a lot of housing commission in the area, it's the middle of the day. Who's working today? Like, where's the?
Mate, I mean, I'm walking around my house, so I mean, I'm working, but I'm walking. So I mean, but I suppose I don't have a rat's tail. So
you don't have a rat's tail. I feel like you back in the day did.
Never had one.
You strike me for a rat's tail type of experimenter. Desirability and amenities. These are a thing that you have to rank. So how upkept is the local IGA? How looked after is the town center? Do they have a lot of cafes? What was the newest place that opened? Are there for lease signs in the street? How many is there? I mean, actually count them, because there will be one or two. There might be 10, and like chat to the cafe and, hey, I see next door's been, got a for lease sign. A lot of cobwebs in there. What's going on? Oh, I can't get a thing.
And I think just to throw an example in there of a desirability or an amenity in my local area recently, and this is not a major example, but it's just a little kind of telltale sign that maybe there's something brewing or something has been brewing. The local Woolworths, they've actually bought out the cafe, and they bought out they've expanded the parking lot. So Woolworths has actually said, look, we think there's going to be a lot of people sort of keen on, and there's actually a Woolworths just up the road, but they've been building this little parking lot for like a month or so. I'm like, wow, what are they building? Like a multi-story? But I was just amazed. I was like, Woolworths is convinced that there's a good amount, and I think you're too late in my area. But I just think it's just interesting that the bigger players, your Woolworths, your Bunnings, are actually investing infrastructure in, because they're not doing it because they're not guessing. They sort of have a lot of data on what people are spending in the stores. So just those kind of things, those little anecdotes.
Well, this is like my Bunnings theory, and I haven't been able to prove my Bunnings theory because I don't have the data. But go to where all the new Bunnings is going. Like, they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on research and demographics to decide where to put a Bunnings. So do not take that as financial advice. But I have a theory that Bunnings is where it's at.
Yeah,
Not
and I think it's all about
data.
connecting all these dots together. It's not, okay, Woolworths is spending on upgrading their parking lot. That's the only reason you buy an area. You need to kind of look at all the things and kind of collaborate the narrative after you've looked at the data, is kind of what I like that disclaimer, Joe. You've got it right in front of your face.
Yeah, I was trying to move it. It's very hard to move.
Good one.
Just letting everyone know, by the way, this is not financial advice. This is just information and education around choosing things and looking at it. So please don't sue us, please. Yes, never judge a book by its cover. Very fair point. But yes, actually,
unfortunately we do though. I think as whether it's right or wrong, there is unfortunately judgment there. Like I don't think it's great that we do that, but we do it.
No, but I mean, there's also just it's not where you have to put your money. Like, if there's a like low socioeconomic situations where there's not a lot of money, there's not going to be a lot of capital growth. So it's not somewhere you can feel for the people and tip the the cafe, but I wouldn't be putting my money there. Infrastructure, what are the transport links? How can they get to the city? How can they get into places? What are the links for what is the suburb flow? Like, where's the bus stops? Are there bus stops? Are there train spots? Like, how do people actually get around the city? Education and jobs. What are what is the schools? What kind? Is there an amazing grammar school that everyone in the region goes to? Is there an amazing college? Like, how is the people drawn? Same with hospitals. Hospitals bring jobs.
When we're on the ground, when they're in the location, what are some of the good ways to find? Do you actually drive to these areas, to the spots, Joe? Or how do you just speak to locals and say, well, what's going on in the area?
We'll get to that, but essentially you just jump in a car and you chat to every single person there. We'll get to that. I'll talk about that soon.
Okay.
And then detractors. What are the things that are detracting? And then you just minus the score. So a detractor, a couple of brothels opening up 24/7.
No degradation to people who work in that industry. I think, it's a very valid industry, but yeah.
Yes, but shady. Yeah. Put a disclaimer on everything. We have respect for brothel workers. Yes, we do. But do we want to own a property right next to one? Probably not. 24/7, like places that are open 24/7. There's a lot of loud noise. There's a lot of things like that. Just be careful. They're detractors, and then just add the score up. and then you've done it. You've gone to your 4 suburbs, and you now know where the suburbs are for you.
How do you, so talk to you? You've got a -2 against the tractor there. I know this is just you've put a number there, but how would you sort of rank how do you rank that?
Well, there's not enough. So like social was 3, that's 4, that's 3. Detractors, there was there was a brothel that just opened up, like something
Or
there's
like or there was some
negative thing. Like that's a negative, like something that's going to detract from the area as a whole. Another detractor is like there's no the council isn't spending money. Like where is the council spending money? That's a detractor. And if you've gotten like if the infrastructure is a 0, you can go -1 and those type of things. Now, I do this on a much larger scale. So this isn't actually how I do my research and data, but it's a way that on a small scale you can rank each suburb and you can kind of create a bit of a score, and you can say, well, this suburb is a good to excellent. Like that's it's above, it's an average to good, that type of thing.
I've seen some of your research, Joe. Impressive.
Thanks, Jeff. Thank you. Okay. Here are some of the locals to chat to. So this is what you were speaking about, Jeff. Like, what are you actually like when you go to an area? Who are you speaking with? Who are you trying to get a conversation with? And for me, I'm trying to get a hold of all of these people: local council, town planners, architects, structural engineers, real estate agents, property managers, builders, surveyors, insurance providers, business owners, cafes, hotels, and restaurants. Now, typically speaking, these people, the property managers and real estate agents, they're a little bit more open to a conversation. But hospitality venues love a chat. Go to the local pub, sit down with a local, have a beer, buy them a beer, and just have a chinwag about trying to understand the area. I buy in an area quite a lot of property, so I will get in the car with a real estate agent, and it's not trying to sell me a property. I'm like, you're not trying to sell me a property right now. I'm not buying anything from you right now. I want you to sell me the suburb, and I want you to tell me the good spots and the bad spots. My job is to walk away from here and understand every single bad spot. Now, what you can do is when you go into your hotel, because you got to stay at a hotel or your motel or your Holiday Inn, and you get one of those big maps. You know those things like when you're a kid and you would used to go to the hotel and you'd it'd be on a big booklet and you rip it out and then you draw silly stuff on it.
Oh,
yeah,
I still do that.
Me too. Yeah, exactly. You
you
never grow out of that. You grab one of those with your real estate agent and you go street by street with the real estate agent and say, look, I want to see the best things. And I went with a real estate agent recently, and he went through absolutely. He was so suburb proud. Now, one thing that I'm going to just take a step back. I called all of these people before. So before I jumped and got my little booty over there, I tried to gather as much information at the information gathering stage of fundamentals and analysis, and then calling local people. So I called up this agent and I'm like, hey mate, I just want to learn a little bit about your area. He's like, yeah, what? I'm like, well, I'm an investor. I just want to learn a little bit more. Oh, look, blah, blah, blah. I don't have time. You just waste look, mate, if you want to, just very standoffish. I only serve locals. Get out of here. I don't want your type around here. And I'm like, well, okay, cool. Well, I'm coming over next week. Is it worthwhile saying hello, like popping in and saying hello? And he's like, oh, you're flying down. Oh, I thought you were just a time waster that's going to just sit on the phone and waste all my time. No, like I'm from, I don't know if anyone knows this. I'm from the Blue Mountains, small little country town where a handshake means a lot, where you go face to face with people and you shake their hand. And that really, gets people, it's respect. It's
the Blue Mountains is an interesting place, Joe. I know many people from there.
Well, you know me as well, Jeff.
Yeah.
I hope I'm interesting enough.
I know a couple of people. Yeah. Growing up in the lower Blue Mountains, Penrith kind of way.
Yeah. You're the shady type we look down on.
No, it's almost the opposite. We're like, oh, these guys up in the mountains, those mountain folk. But no, fair enough.
Here's a great question. A great question. Joe Tucker, can we expect our buyer's agent to do boots on the ground as well? Absolutely. If they're not doing that, one of my largest expenses in my business is travel. And a lot of my time is travel because it's so damn important. Like, you need to be doing this stuff. Like, you're paying someone, $15,000, $16,000 to go find a property for you. They need to have been to the area. So the top questions that you need to ask a buyer's agent: one, how do you get paid? Are you getting any kickbacks or referrals from anybody else? For me, I don't get any referrals from any professional, not real estate agents, not mortgage brokers, not conveyancers, not property managers. Property managers do want to give buyers agents money. I just say funnel it back into the client because I want my incentives to be aligned with the person. But ask the next question. You understand that they're getting paid solely by you. That's great. The next question is, where are you buying? Like, not where are you buying, because they're not going to tell you, but in the locations, when was the last time you were there? Tell me. Like, oh, well, for me, last week, I think it was 2 weeks ago. I was in Queensland. 2 weeks before that, I was in South Australia. A couple of weeks before that, I was in Victoria. A couple of months before that, I was in WA. Like, you need to be seeing these places. Yeah, so very important. I used to live in Katoomba. I was born in Katoomba. There you go.
It's a nice place. I love the
Beautiful.
mountains. There are plenty of good hikes up that way. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've gotten sidetracked, Jeff. Reel me back in. Where were we?
So we're chatting to locals, and you said you were talking about how you spoke to, and I think that's very important because property is really a relationship. It's a people business. Like, if you can't, like, not to say you have to be best friends with the local kind of local publican or the local sort of hairdresser. You don't have to be their best mates or the local real estate agent. It's simply about kind of having a human conversation and saying, well, how are things around here? Like, what are the things you really like about the area?
Yeah.
And I mean, if somebody came to me and was asking me at a local shopping center, I'd be like, oh, actually, I'd be a little like, well, what's the point of your, what are you asking for? And then once I understood, I'd be like, I'd sort of talk to them and give them, because you kind of do enjoy talking about your area, and people ask me about that all the time.
People are very local proud. Very, very proud of their areas and regions. So just show the respect and it's this property that you're buying. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars. All you need to do is spend a couple of weekends there, and spend a couple of hours on the phone. Like, it's not just, but you've got to invest. Otherwise, it's not going to work. You're just going to buy a dud, right? And the whole purpose of investing is to continue buying and continue getting there.
Yeah, and I think, to your point about real estate agents and highlighting the really good pockets from the not so good pockets. I even did that myself when I was buying an owner rock, and I had an agent, even first or second conversation, they were telling me, oh, look, I grew up in these areas and these are the streets. They told me the streets. And of course, the real estate agent wants to sell your product, but at the same time, you would just get into a conversation with them. So I think then you can sort of correlate your own research with what they're telling you. And it actually, a lot of the times, it does add up. So you sort of say, okay, yep, what you're saying there makes sense. I can see why the prices in those streets are a little bit cheaper. So because they're not as desirable as where the locals are.
And that's literally what you have to ask the questions that you ask people. Hey, where are the places that you don't feel so safe? Where are the dodgy parts? Where are the places where you probably wouldn't want to, let's just say you can buy anywhere in this suburb. Tell me where would you be buying? What streets? And then just keep asking the same question over and over again, but in a different way. Where are the places that you don't feel so safe? Where are the areas that have got, like, what is a hot spot? What about the not spots? Where are the places that people just do burnouts? Where do the shady characters hang out? Oh, they hang out in this park. Oh, that park actually looks quite nice. Yeah, beautiful park, but there's just a lot of shady dealings done, and there's a lot of stigma for the locals. So that's not going to drive the owner-occupiers up. Now, how long is that stigma going to last? You don't know, but it's one of those things. And this is a good point. You do have to be chatty. You have to enjoy engaging with people. One thing that I thought I would just share is I was talking about that physical map. Oh, there you go. Aaron Wybrow grew up in Blackheath. They're fellow mountain folk. There we go.
Knew there was something about Aaron. Yeah, we get him on. Get him on in a couple of weeks. Yeah. No.
Oh, there you go. So you get one of these maps, right? You draw on it, you get a texter, and you say hotspot, not spot. You can do the exact same thing with Google Maps. So you go to My Maps. It's called My Maps. And then you get given Australia. And then you go to, where are we? Oh, shit.
Let's go. Maybe, why don't you go to the mountains? You go to Katoomba.
Katoomba. There you go. This is Okay, so now we've got.
I'd say around the station would be a bit sketch, probably. I mean, just
It's not the worst, but yeah, it's definitely not the best part of Katoomba. Yeah, you're right. And then what you can do is
it's changed a little bit though, because you got a nice pizza restaurant. I mean, yeah,
yeah.
I had
So,
a nice pizza and beers. Anyway.
There we go. Draw, add a line or add a shape. So you can then say, okay, all the shops are here in Katoomba Street. There we go. These are where the shops are. There we go. This is shops. And then you can start to build out this mental map. And you're driving around with the agents and you're taking these notes. But then when you get back to the hotel, you got nothing else to do. You start to build it out. And then you say, hell, this is not real. I haven't not spot, right? Not spot, not on this street. The reason why you don't go on this street is because of this. So I have a lot of these maps for areas built out. And literally it's just every single street is labeled. Yes, I'm buying there. So all of a sudden a property pops up in my green zone. And then I've got my, hotspot is here, here, and then here. And then just not on hotel side, right? That's it. This is just Google. This is free. It then saves to your map and you're able to do that and you can keep coming back to it. So this is the research that you should be doing on your locations. And I think that's pretty handy.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Cool. Any questions so far?
Oh, so there's a couple of questions that pop through, but have you got? I don't know. I was having so much fun. I lost track as to where we up to.
Hotspots. What the hell is a hotspot?
Somebody asked that question, or I don't know. You're going into it.
We're going into it. We're going into it. Now I started to run out of time, so it's valuable, but it's just not as clean. Hotspots. Okay. This is the suburbs and the locations that you want to be buying in. So these are some of the key things to look out for when you are buying a property. Other properties that are well maintained around them. So what you want to be avoiding is high tenant location because, okay, let's just say suburb is 70% owner occupiers and 30% investors. They're going to.
That talks to Victor's question. He said, "What's the ideal renter to owner occupied?" Have you got a view on? I heard you talk about it. I thought it was an opportune time.
Yeah, it's a good question. I below. I haven't got my numbers in front of me. But if it's
I throw anything below, anything above sort of 30%, I start to sort of say it's like the yield thing. Like if you're going 32 or 33, I'm like, okay, that's probably okay. But if you start going 40%, I don't know what your numbers are, Joe, but I don't like much over 30%.
Yeah, 35%. Like when you start to get into like the 40% and below, and then you're trying to aim below that. But one thing to we'll talk about this. Actually, let's just go to it now. We'll talk about the programs that you can use to be able to find this sort of research as well.
Before you go,
is what is it? Microburbs, isn't it?
Have they finally have they updated? I haven't looked in the last 6 months. Have they updated with census data from 2022?
I don't think so. No. And this is it. You need to go to the sources. But just high level, this is Microburbs. It's a free tool. It doesn't cost you absolutely anything, but it's got a whole heap of information. HIP score. So you're going to see to be honest, Katoomba's pretty hippy dippy all over, but
got the yellow deli.
Like you just paint the entire thing with the brush.
Right, they're on a new planet.
Yeah. But then we've got public housing. So you can see that this area here has a whole heap of public housing. So you're going to renters. Where's renters? There you go. Katoomba, 36% renters. But this pocket here, the blue, has, what is it, 17% renters. So it's not just looking at it from a suburb perspective. You have to dig in and get onto a local area of where it is as well. So this is
the interesting thing about that though, Joe, is right next door to if you look at the green, that's probably about 50%, isn't it? If you go
78%.
Yeah, but wow. go yeah. So you kind of, I don't know. It gets a bit sort of patchy, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, and also it's the same with public housing, right? Like if you if this is what's this 0? So what's the most? So here, look, this suburb, this is let's just say this is a red and it's a green, so it's not that bad. So let's say it's red and this is red. Do you want to be smushed in between two reds? Maybe not. Maybe not. Like
Probably not, no.
your people, these people to get to the shops, these people to get to the shops have to walk through your suburb. So it kind of feels a bit shady. The area doesn't feel as good. So not saying that there's not good people in this area and all that stuff, but this is just an investment perspective for where to put your hundreds of thousands of dollars. You want to do this research and you want to do this due diligence. You want to cut some of these areas out, and what your threshold is absolutely up to you. Everyone's got a different perspective on it. Other things to look out for: within close proximity to a reasonable block of shops, not walking distance. It doesn't have to be walking distance, but pretty close. So this is where we use something called Walk Score. So Walk Score, another free tool. We don't really show you too many of the paid tools because you guys don't have access to them. But if you want some of the free tools, we can definitely help you out. What's 1, 2, 3? Lura Street, Katoomba. I don't know the name of streets in Katoomba anymore. Oh my gosh, one Lura. There you go. Lure Mall.
Joe chose them all.
That's very far away. So is that car dependent? Is that within a reasonable distance to the shops for you? So Walk Score is super useful to give you a lot and tell you what's in the area. So you can see all of the shops and stuff are down here. You can get access to all of these, but here is quite far away. However, if this is the hot pocket for owner occupiers, well, maybe, hell yeah. So you've got to take everything. Everything's got to be factored in. You've got to just understand the area enough. So what you're looking for is beautiful gardens. You're looking for little oldies pruning their gardens. So when you're going to be there during the weekday, during a weekend, what is going on? How do you feel? Do you feel safe? Do you feel secure? Do you see these beautiful old 1970 houses that have been well maintained and looked after? Or do you see council house? What does it look like? One thing to look for, up and coming streets. So we don't want to necessarily, you can buy an amazing deal in a gentrifying suburb and a gentrifying location. So that's kind of like what you were talking about before, Jeff, right? Like, how do you choose? Like, what happens if the street's the perfect street? One, you're trying to get a cheap, crappy property there because you'll be able to hold it for the long term and add value to it and then be a part of that mix. But if you can't, you have to take a step back and go to, where are the suburbs that are gentrifying? Where are the locations in that area? So a good thing that stands out is new constructions. So if you're starting to see a whole lot of new duplexes and properties getting built, and people, not just basic kit homes, but if people are spending, if you're seeing, if it's $400,000, and all of a sudden it's $750,000, $800,000 for this 1 into 2, okay, that's interesting. These people are convinced.
I'm actually starting to see a little bit of that in my area now. But I think the horse has bolted on my area. But I do see a lot of sort of construction going on, and I think the important thing though is to understand who's actually, and you only get this by speaking to the locals, because the locals will know what's because some of that may be sort of constructed for public housing, so it may not necessarily be.
Yes. And then you've got to call up the builder and have a conversation with the builder. And all of these conversations don't have to be face-to-face. All of them don't need to be half an hour. They can be quick conversations. Hey, what are you building there? Oh, I'm thinking about building myself, actually. I'm looking for a subdividable block. Actually, another thing you need to be wary of is zoning. What is the zoning for an area? There's council maps. There's tools out there to tell you what the zoning is. So be wary of that, because if you get into a good zoning that has an old house on it that's run down that you'll be able to knock down in 10 years, maybe that's probably going to be that may be potential for you. This is one actually that I think is interesting to think about. I think it's from 1990. I'm not even going to be able to talk to what it is, but a suburb that has lots of power lines. So there's power lines throughout the street. But if you see some streets that have minimal or no power lines, it means that the power network's been upgraded underneath the ground. And it means that the council is thinking maybe we should start to upgrade this place a little bit. Maybe we'll spend all the money on the underground infrastructure and we'll start to do this place up a little bit. So these are where you're having conversations with council. Hey guys, where are you putting money? Where do you see, what are the best streets? Where are you putting the money? And think about that stuff. So if it's a thing you'll start to see now, you'll be driving along and you'll be like, wow, there's so many power lines. Wait, where did they all go? There you go.
Is that common, Joe? I've never really noticed. I mean, maybe it's because I've been looking.
Well, you don't notice it, right? You don't think about it. I mean, newer subdivision, no, not newer. Well, yeah, newer. It's now like newer subdivisions and things. It's all underground now. So you won't see as many power lines. But it's something to think about.
Yeah.
Something to think about. Fresh pavements, brand new roads, brand new pavements. None of this patchworky stuff. New roads updates, painted lines, fresh paint on gutters. Like people who have looked after their places, this is what you want. Look for Mercedes instead of Holdens. Great. Yeah, if you're seeing a lot of great, amazing cars, these are some of the hot spots.
What about Teslas though? I've seen a lot of Teslas in my like the increasing kind of, because Teslas are quite expensive as well. And
you've been hinting at how lucky you are in this lucky suburb of yours, Jeff. As soon as you got a Tesla, you see look, scrap everything that I've said. If there is a Tesla parked in the garage or on the driveway, just buy.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah, just kidding. Heritage listing is another thing. Whoever brought this up, thank you very much. Heritage is going to buy a house and spoke to Heritage Advice, said I had to apply paint and even I had to apply paint or even change floorboards. Oh gosh, yeah. So there are overlays for Heritage.
Can be quite painful because you really cannot change.
You can't do anything.
Hardly change anything.
Well, look, you can't change the floorboards. I can't change the floor-infested floorboards, termite-infested floorboards. That's crazy. No, we do not own a Tesla. I don't think I'll buy one. I'll wait until they can charge themselves within an hour. Like I don't want to just drive for however long and then have to sit at a bloody.
I'm going higher. Like, yeah, Terry sent us that crazy. What was it? Yeah.
Anyway, not spots. Poo emoji. Okay, so this is how you determine a not spot. Whatever this is, very industrial. You don't want to be buying in an industrial zone because it doesn't feel nice. I don't feel like I'm having a good time here. You don't want your house being backed on the back of this. So rule 1, there you go. One thing that is interesting is super straight streets. So you just see a straight street. When you have a souped up Commodore, you don't see a straight street, you see a drag strip. So you want to make sure that there are speed bumps and roundabouts in those type of streets if they are going to be quite straight. You want to be looking for burnouts. You want to be looking for shopping trolleys. You want to be looking for these. Looking for these. But before we dive into that, let's. I realize we haven't run.
We got so sidetracked, just so interested and passionate. Yeah.
So if anyone has any questions, throw those in. While jump in and tell us, how is this going? Is this what you wanted? Is this what the people wanted? Is this adding value to you? But we will be right back.
BRB.
Commercial property offers the highest cash flow in Australian property investing, offering exceptionally higher yields than residential. Now, we're talking 8 to 10% net yields. That's cash after all expenses, not this 2 to 6% gross that we see in the residential space. So for those that are starting out on their commercial investing journey, it can be exciting, but it's also a step not to be taken lightly. The expertise of a commercial buyer's agent can pay dividends to help you secure that high cash flow and high growth potential property. And this is why we recommend Steve Polisi of Polisi Property. With over 6 years experience in the space, Steve has over 1,200 property transactions under his belt. He has seen it all and knows the best locations right for growth. In a previous life, Steve was a chartered mechanical and structural engineer, so he draws on his mathematical and analytical skills that he's developed to break down what works best in commercial property. As with engineering, same goes with commercial property. It's based primarily on the numbers. So if you're curious about diversifying into commercial property, you have access to $100,000 in cash or in equity, Book a call with Steve today and find that perfect asset for you.
Hello. Welcome back, everyone. Jeff has gone. Jeff has disappeared on me. So I'm just going to share my screen and cover off the not spots, or I might ask and answer some questions. So if anyone's got any questions, throw those in while we wait for young Jeff to come on in. But in the meantime, let's start talking about some of the hot spots and some of the not spots. And actually, what are some of the not spot things that you look out for when you go and searching for property? So one of the big ones I like to look out for is graffiti on the fences. There's nice, beautiful color bond, and then people just spray paint crap all over them. Those are some things that you want to look out for. People parking on lawns is another massive one. If people can't respect like their lawns and it's just dirt and grass, like dirt and no grass, it's not a good look, and it doesn't bode well for people that are respectable and care about their property. Another interesting one that I think is sometimes overlooked is oil stains on the pavement. So it just means that their car hasn't been maintained. They're not investing in the money to maintain their car. They're not investing in money to maintain their property. Burnouts on the street, high demographic of social housing, couches on porches. That is another big one that I always like to look out for. If you see people just sitting on their, on their couches, that's it. Lots of cameras. So you've probably seen these ones yourselves where there's a whole heap of people. There's a couple of houses that have just cameras absolutely everywhere. Just tells me that they're scared of something, and it's something in the area that's a little bit dodgy. I also want to think about what is council doing to this area? How are they looking after? Oh, welcome back, Jeff.
How you going? The audience dropped. What's going on?
We lost half the audience. I'm sorry. You want to look out for like tree-lined streets, which are good, but you also don't want too bigger, like massive gum trees that can be a problem down the track. So you want to have a look at verges that have been looked after by council. What is the little council? What is the local shops looking like? Like liquor premises, massage parlors, those type of things. They're not really going to be the place. Freeways, right next to emergency services. So like ambulance stations, fire stations, 24/7 GP centers, not such a bad one, but things just to think about. When things are going 24/7, it means there's noise 24/7.
Maybe I'm a bad person having the area, because I don't mind having a liquor. When you say liquor premise, so you're talking about the local bottler, or are we talking like a pub or something?
I mean, like, yeah, like you're like those 24. Oh, actually, just liquor. Like,
yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm being a bit cheeky.
Cash converter. Someone said cash converter. I don't know about that.
A
loan
shark or something like that, like a pawnbroker. It's probably not ideal either.
Yeah, that's like those cheap, like when you go in, and if it was in a nice suburb, it would be an IGA, a fruit shop, and a pharmacy. And then like you go
bakery, in a nice bakery.
There you go. Yeah. And you go in, and it is a bunged up IGA that's got no investment into it, a cash converters and money loaning, and it's all just run down and crap. Like, if that's where you're going to, because people need to buy milk, they need to drop into their local to buy some milk. Like, if that's going to be where they go, you're not going to want to live there, right? Yeah. And the owner occupiers drive demand.
Have you ever driven down the main street of St. Mary's, though, Joe? Queen Street?
Not recently, not in a long time.
Oh, I mean, it doesn't change much, but that's an. I mean, I suppose what I'm pointing out is that there's nuance in
there's a nuance in the way to say nuance.
Yeah, nuance. In that sort of thing, because if somebody said to me, I wouldn't have, that suburb's done relatively well, but then there's other factors that add to it. So I suppose I was pointing out there's opportunity amongst potentially,
and this is where we go back to wherever the hell it was. You're scoring.
Exactly.
All of these things have a point. And hey, there's a cash converters here, but it's surrounded by a lovely IGA and a beautiful pharmacy. Great, cancels each other out. That's net neutral. You're doing fine. That's not a problem. Hey, there's some burnouts in the street, but next door there's a mansion and a mansion and a mansion. Well, someone just got a little bit foot heavy, right? It's not. You've got to take all of these things in considerations, and look at them.
Questions to ask agents.
I wanted to. So, if we had time, I don't know if we do, Jeff. Do we have time? I wanted to go through a bit of not a role play, but just kind of go through how it sounds to talk to a real estate agent when you're chatting, when you're first initially opening a deal for.
Let's do it, Joe. Let's step outside the comfort zone. Get it done.
Sure.
Yep.
Are we sure?
Are you being an agent or am I being the agent? How about you be the agent?
No,
hang on. I'll be the agent.
You be the agent. You be the agent. And I guess maybe we don't need to actually role play it because I've got the questions right here.
I'll pretend I can't see the questions.
Okay. But essentially what I'm trying to get out is as much information from the agent as possible. So yeah, I don't know how this is going to go. This is going to be horrendous. So,
how you going today, Joe? How you going today? What's caught your interest in this property?
Yeah. Hey, Mr. Agent, my name's Joe. I'm just looking at 123 Smith Street that you've got online.
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah. It's been just recently listed. So you've come to the right place. What would you like to know?
Well, I'm an investor. I'm looking at it from an investment perspective. What can you tell me?
Well, I can tell you that it's a great property. Rents for $450 a week, and the property the people selling are really sort of they've enjoyed the place, and they're just looking to move it on to somebody else.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so I was going to ask, like rent wise, what's that at? So what did you say, 450?
450,
is that market? Like, is that what I could get now?
I think if you really push it, they haven't increased the rent. I found out in the last sort of 12 or 24 months. So I think you could expect anywhere between 470 to 500.
Oh, okay, not a bad yield then. Not a bad yield at all. And I guess I appreciate, like, it's been, they've owned it a long time. Are there any little things, like I can see the photos, it looks pretty good. Is there any things that I need to like fix or work on? Like what are some I know the photos look great, but from an investment perspective, what do I need to do?
Well, I would say if you wanted to get your biggest bang for your buck, the carpets are sort of a little dated. So I don't know if you want to look at that. Potentially the painting as well. So look, it's perfectly fine, very livable. I would live there myself. But yeah, if you wanted to spruce, give it a lick of paint, that wouldn't go astray either. So carpets and paint, and yeah, maybe sort of give it freshen up a little bit.
Okay, and then how much extra rent would that give me? Like, is that going to boost the rent, or is that just going to be needed for getting?
I'd say maybe $10 a week, and the other thing is you might want to consider sort of air conditioning, sort of, because the unit there is about sort of 5 years old.
Yeah, air conditioning, fantastic. So do you run a rent roll? Like, do you look after these yourself?
We do have a rental arm. So
wonderful. Well, I always like to if I have a good relationship with an agent, I always like to run our rent, push it through to them. So hopefully that can work for us. So give me a bit of a rundown from a zone. So are we in a flood zone? Are we in a bushfire zone? Are there any easements, any encumbrances on the title? What have we got?
So to the best of my knowledge, the only thing I would be aware of is that yes, there is a 1 in 100 year flood zone just around the corner. So you're not in a flood zone. So
just around the corner.
1 in 100 years though. So I would sort of, it's important to sort of point that out to you.
So not anything over the property? Like, is it over the property?
No, it's not.
Okay, good. That's fine then. That's absolutely fine. So long as it's not over the property. If it was over the property, we'd probably be ending the conversation now. Anything on the title that's going to stop? Like what's the front?
Not to my knowledge. No, there is not.
No, not to your knowledge. Any significant trees? Of course, you don't know that. That is absolutely fine. Now, I guess one of the questions I always like to ask, I'm finance approved. I'm ready to go. I'm looking for an investment property. This looks like it ticks a lot of the boxes. I am quite far down the line of another property that looks really, really good. That's ticks a lot of boxes for me. If we came in at the right level, would the seller be willing to sell? Like I can inspect it tomorrow. So can we make this happen today? What's it going to look like?
The property wouldn't be on the market if the seller wasn't willing to sell.
Okay. So can I get an inspection tomorrow?
Yeah, I've got a few appointments. So how flexible
hell.
are you with how flexible are you with timing?
Oh yeah, I've kind of messed this up because I would have talked about price first. I would have actually gone into chatting about the price. Tell me what the price is. How did the have you sold anything similar to this? These kind of questions down here. But
yeah, I was waiting for the. I'm expecting that we'd buy this. If we could we like it would sort of our client's brief is at sort of 500K. Would that am I in the right range there? That's the kind of question I was expecting.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I see it's
wasting each other.
Yeah, and in terms of price, like, what have we got? What I see that you've got 450 to 480. Where are we?
Our brief is at 400. Are we wasting our time here?
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
Time, but is it worth having?
And then the next best question to ask is, oh, awesome. So, what's the closest comparable sale that you've got for this one? Because what they'll say, I see it's 450 to 480. What's the closest comparable sale? And then he'll go, hey, look, if you check out 123 Fake Street, that has 520,000.
Sold for
600. Yeah, no, yeah, like 525, 2520. And you know the value of the property anyway. And it's a $520,000 property. So you're going to go in at you're not going to go. You're like, look, I understand it's obviously at 450 to 480. It's going to be in the upper end of the range, I imagine. If we came in with a strong, secure offer, are we going to be able to get the job done? Like, what can we make this happen? And they'll be like, yes, or no, it's going to go to the open. It has to go to the open no matter what, because it's a deceased estate. Okay, great. Well, tell me about it. What are the kind of terms that the vendor's looking for? These type of things.
How can we make it work at 470, or can we make it work at 470?
Yeah, I mean, and the goal of the agent is to make it as smooth as possible, and your goal is to make it as smooth as possible for the vendor. So, what does the vendor want in terms? Short terms? Do they want long terms? Do they want to rent back? Do they want, are they keen for a quick sale? Because what I hear all the time, and this is a mistake, people just say, "Cool, I'll give you 30 days settlement, and I'll give you this price, and take it or leave it." Yeah. Well, the vendor is actually the vendor's actually bought another property, but can't move into that for another 3 months. So they actually want an extra long settlement. So to be honest, your very aggressive offer doesn't fit with the vendor, and you've just screwed yourself out of a good deal, because you haven't asked those questions.
I thought we actually did pretty well there, Joe. I mean, I thought, yeah. I wasn't looking at the questions, so I didn't know what was coming next. So I was.
Oh, good. I like it. I like you want to be surprised.
Yeah, I wanted to be ad lib, but not as smooth as Scotty, but that's okay.
No. And one of the questions that's come up is, do you ask about these financial/negotiation questions without seeing the property? Absolutely. My goal is to buy the property as quickly as possible. This guy, his goal is to tell me how great the property is, and it's my job to do the deal. Great actors. So I want to show the agent, hey, Mr. Agent, 1, my name's Joe. I'm an investor. I buy properties. Number 2, I'm finance approved and ready to go. I've been researching this area. What can you tell me about this street? I actually haven't been down this street. Tell me about it. I'm ready to go. I am ready to make a deal. I can inspect it tomorrow. Does that work? Can we make this deal happen? I'm quite far down the line of another one. I did this yesterday, literally. Hey, Mr. Agent, I'm quite far down the line of another one. We have 2 days to buy another property. Otherwise, I'm going to have to take that one. Now, I know you want to take it to the open on Saturday, but I'm going to come in with a good price, not a bullshit price that your vendor's going to be upset with, a price that's going to get the job done. But let's make it. Is there a world where we can do this? Absolutely, there is. Perfect. You and I can do business together. If they say no, we have to go to the open. You then have to go to the open like everybody else.
Yeah. Oh, and then would you say, Joe, as well, if the other property that you are that which is definitely real, if the other property you're considering buying doesn't sort of come to fruition, you can then sort of entertain if it doesn't sell at the first open. You can sort of say, well, hey, look,
Oh,
we're
yeah, exactly. And that's how it goes. It's like, well, look, for me, it's my client was looking at this other property, and to be honest, that fell through. Like we this is why we looked at yours, because that wasn't as attractive as we want. So we just let it go. So we're now back on the market. Let's have a conversation. But this last question is just at the bottom there. It's a little understated. This is one of the most crucial questions that you need to ask. What is the process after we submit an offer, after the open home? What are the next steps? What are the next steps? What happens next? So what I see all the time is, hey, Mr. Agent, I'm going to give you, $500,000, and I'm going to give you an offer for that $500,000, and you need to get to me by Friday, because that's what has to happen. And then that's it. And then
comes around Saturday, and nothing's gone. The agent hasn't contacted because they're like,
well, we need to take it. Yeah, exactly. Here we go. This is it. And then they say, oh, well, we need to take it to auction. Cool. This is where this question, what is the process after? Let's say we get this deal. Let's just say it works out. What happens when we submit the offer? Well, if you submit an offer, we need to go to the open home, because I need to see what interest is, because this is a bit of a unique property. It's very popular. It's very exciting. It's very much the best property. But my vendor said I need to go to 2 opens no matter what. So throw an offer at me, please. Absolutely. But I can't guarantee that you're going to be buying it with that, unless it's got a 6 in front of it. But obviously this is a suburb with 5s in front of it. So I'm sorry, Mr. Cool. That's the way that they're going to run the process. If that doesn't work, then you're just like, if you can't get in before, then don't worry about it. Go to the open and play with the other people, but just have a bit of pressure. Know when to apply pressure. If they then say, oh, we've got to run 2 opens no matter what. Okay, I'm not talking about another property that I have. I'm just saying, oh, awesome, I'll see you there on the weekend, because I'll see it, because I know what your process is. If they say, I want to buy, yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because then yeah, it does make sense, because I think that's an underrated sort of thing, because people just assume, and I even sort of hadn't really considered until further. People assume that once they put the offer in, it'll go to the vendor, and the vendor will say yay or nay, which may not be the case. That they may sort of discuss it with the vendor, but then they may have already got sort of the vendor knows that they want to go to auction. Unless they get, like, let's just say it's a 5 suburb and it goes, and you get an offer of 700K, then maybe they're like, crap, we don't need auction. This is several hundred K above what we'd expected. We are going to sell it for that, but at your price at 500, they want to go take it to auction or take it to the opens or whatever.
And if people want
to, I think that's important. So you're kind of wasting everybody's time.
Yeah. And agents, like for me, I have agents call me all the time. Hey, Joe, I've got this amazing deal. Great. It's an off market, but I will tell them, great, what's the address? I'll do the research. I'll just do high level. Boom, boom, boom. Hey, it's in a flood zone. I don't buy in flood zones. Cool. Thanks. Okay, cool. Thanks for the answer. We'll chat next time. Because you don't want to say, oh, let me just have a look at it and I'll let you know. You're wasting his time and you're wasting your time.
You're kind of giving him an expectation that you may be a buyer when in all reality, you're not going to be a buyer if it doesn't tick those rules.
You become a time waster. So I feel that these questions are fun. They fundamentally set you up to sound like you know what you're talking about. It sounds like you're an area expert. You understand what zones you want to be in and what you don't want to be in. You understand that easements and encumbrances are bad for you, and you can inspect it tomorrow. Like, this is what we do.
It actually sounds like you're going to give the agent the opportunity to earn their commission, because that's ultimately an agent.
Well, what agents don't want is to let a good deal go. So sorry, Mr. Agent, I'm a guaranteed deal. This is done. I'm finance approved. You don't have to worry about me. You get imagine how many first home buyers, this is what I say to agents as well. Oh, look, aren't these interest rates crazy? Do you know every time an interest rate rises by 1%, borrowing capacity drops by $50,000 or so this is crazy, isn't it? Yeah. Imagine all these first home buyers and investors that think that they've got finance. That's what I'm competing with. But don't worry, I've got investors. They're using a buyer's agent. They've got money. Like, I've never crashed on finance. So like these little things help your leverage and give you give you everything that you need.
Yeah. There you go, Joe. So have we gotten to, is this inspecting the property or is this pre-inspection?
No, I don't. I haven't really. I think we'll just kind of wrap it up here. If we want to talk about property inspections, I reckon we do that later. Because I haven't. I can do better.
Full,
I can do a better job with that.
transparency. Yeah, he hasn't. Yeah, that's all good because we're at an hour and a half anyway. And like I've thoroughly enjoyed getting boots on the ground here, and I just think there's so many kind of gold nuggets as you like to sort of say. I think there's been and I think there's been a whole bunch of questions. So should we throw to Q&A, Joe? Or
I think Q&As. I want to hear from people. What do people think about that? Like throw some. What questions have you got when it comes to boots on the ground or any of the stuff? Serious about business. Yeah, I think it's important.
Boots are made for walking.
Definitely made for walking.
Great insight. The great insight hasn't. And who's this person spelling it? No, it's okay. 2 F's. Yes, please. The property inspections. Oh, geez. Okay, we'll have to do another live with wrapping. I think I've got some ideas that Joe could present some as the content director here at OzProp. This is an interesting question. What question do you ask if the asking price has dropped?
That is good.
Well,
that is a
good. Would you just say? I'd just say like I've sort of seen. I've been following this property. I've sort of noticed it's dropped. Could you give us some insight as to what the reason for that drop was? Would you ask it that directly?
Yeah, why did it drop? Yeah. This is I see that, and I've got RP data. This was listed for 600. It's at 550. Yeah. What happened? And then like agents aren't lying scumbags as much as you think. They'll just tell you because they don't want to be messed around. Hey, I got a call today again. Do you ever fully believe an agent? No, but trust but verify, right? Like you can tell when someone's lying because you ask another question that's related to it. Like he'll have a story, and the story will be, we actually had we had a client under contract, and the contract fell through because of finance. And okay, great. Well, I'm going to be doing a pest and building inspection. Is anything going to come up on the pest and building? Or actually, there might be something that's going to come up because I'm like, if there's a problem, I'm blah blah blah.
So the story's not adding up because he said finance, and next minute he's kind of shirking, even if it's just a little tone in the voice, because that'll sort of tell you that maybe it wasn't the finance that crashed the contract. It was the pest and building.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that shed looks a bit shaky. Like, is there any problems with that? I just don't want to waste any of your time if I'm not going to be able to, if it's not going to work. But one thing to realize as well is you can buy, and we're going to talk to Steve McKnight in the next couple of weeks, who Jeff and I are big fans of. And he says, buy problems. What does he say? Buy problems and, get solutions. Like you have to create the solution. So just every problem has a solution. So if there's I bought a property that had a broken window that had boards up, that had a board in the window. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened here? It was a mortgagee in possession. It had a grow house operation at the back of the shed that had a false wall that you walk into the grow house. Obviously, all the material was taken away. But nobody wanted that house. And it was a four bedroom, 2 bathroom. We spent $10,000 cleaning it up, fixing the window, and we got $670 a week, and we paid $508,000 for it after getting a $10,000 discount on the what was it, pest and building inspection. So that is a 6.8% yield on a property that's now cash flow positive. Now,
was that the deal of the century, Joe? Oh, that was
no, the deal of the century is a corner block with three units on it that's yielding 750, and we purchased for like 600, which can be subdivided 1 into 3 again, but you don't need to because there's already 3 lots on it. Yeah,
and that's talking about you're getting the property under contract or making an offer before you've inspected. Sorry, there was a question. Do you ask? I think that kind of, because not that you want to be the annoying sort of, like in the US they call it retrading, where you've inspected the property and then you actually said, well, no, instead of it being 600K, I want to sort of negotiate now the price.
That's exactly what I do.
Oh yeah, no, but yeah, you don't want to be seen as that person doing that time and time every property you're inspecting, because then you'll get known as the person who's the. But I think that once you sort of understand, if you make the offer, get on the contract, and then sort of discover through the pest and building that there's actually 20K, a legitimate sort of damage to the property, then you say, okay, well, of course we have the due diligence thing. You want to sort of say, well, okay, we didn't necessarily know. We wanted to make sure we are serious. However, can we kind of come to the table and sort of, I don't know, not the full price, but maybe close to the price? What can we do with this? How do you avoid that conversation, Joe?
Oh, easy. It's an easy conversation to have, but it's because you're prepared and you go in strong. So this property that I just talked about, right? We actually got it under contract for 518,000, and I got the property inspected and I looked at it and I said, okay, I need to replace a window. And this is the obvious thing. So I got an inspector to go there, and their job is to show me all the bad stuff, right? Yeah. And I see all the bad stuff. But what I don't do is tell the agent. So I say, hey, Mr. Agent, we did the inspection. It looks good. Obviously, there's a little bit of maintenance things. I got to replace that window, but everything looks absolutely fine. Bloody happy with this, mate. I'm going to give you an offer. Now, I know it's not going to be blah, blah, blah. It's going to be 518,000. It's going to be this terms, this. Done the deal. Then when we do the pest and building inspection, we get our pest and builder in within the cooling off period. Now, every state is different. There's different rules for different states. Yeah. Just so happen to be in South Australia. So we have a 2-day cooling off period, which is absolute gold. Do not put a pest and building inspection as a clause, as a 14-day clause for your contract in South Australia. Just do it within the 2-day cooling off period. So then your contract is cleaner. Then there is a 14-day finance clause and a 2-day pest and building, a 2-day cooling off period, which you'll do your pest and building in. So that's just a little tip for you. But then I did the inspection. I get the pest and building guy there and he shows me all the bad stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Mr. Actually, I will. You
can I ask you how? So 2 days is not a lot of time, Joe. How are you getting? So you obviously one day you get them out there one day. So you're making one day you get the pest and building done, or are you getting done even before the contract?
I'm getting the pest and building like the next day, okay. But I'm also calling all of my trades. So these are the things that you don't think about doing. And where where buyers, the value of a buyer's agent is in these little 1%ers. I'm just
have you ever had to extend that due diligence clause though?
Have I ever had to extend the
2 days? Because
no, I don't think we have.
Okay,
I don't think we have. No.
Are you looking for something?
I'm going to find the email and give you the wording.
Okay.
So
I'll talk to this one. So I've noticed homes are selling for much less than advertised. So basically, agents aren't adjusting the price down. Shouldn't a real estate agent advertise the lower price to get more buyers first? Well, I mean, it depends. I can't speak to every single property, and I don't know the area, but I think ultimately they're potentially having the conversation with the vendor, and if the vendor doesn't want to drop the price, then the real estate agent can't drop that price without the vendor. So it's probably vendor expectations, and then ultimately if it still sits there longer, the vendor probably has to come to terms with they either sell at that price or they don't sell it. So that's potentially the vendor doesn't want to drop the price. That's what I'd say to that.
Yeah. So we're in this really awkward situation, and in that market, one sold for $250,000. So, for instance, Sydney dropped 10% this was it this quarter? I think was it quarter or was it? Yeah, I think it was quarter.
Or 6 months.
Brisbane dropped 0.6 and Adelaide grew 0.3%. But it's different markets within markets, and this is what we always talk about. So in the the higher end of the market, we're seeing more of these price drops, but it's kind of having a ripple effect to it'll eventually affect the lower end. But right now, there's still quite a lot of competition. So it depends on what market.
Can I be? This person's asked, what if you need electrical and plumbing? Is that different from a building? That'd be different from a building and pest, wouldn't it? Like, how do you sort of, if you need to do that stuff, you're getting all that done probably get it done the same day, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So It's funny that you say that. I found a structural issue and an electrical issue and a plumbing issue in a house. And I got
Is this the
all
email
three.
you're trying to find us?
No, this is a different one. But uh, um, I just call professionals, and that's my job. I sit on the phone and call hey, Mr. Plumber, I need, like, I've got this great job. I need to get this thing fixed. You know, the toilet's backed up. What do I do? Like, can you help me out? Or there's you know, I need a quote. Can you quote this job? Need it in the next couple of days. No, I can't do it in this time. Go to the next person. Go to the next person. And you'll find someone that can do it. And all you need is a number, because every problem has a solution. It's just got a cost attached. With an electrician, get them sent out. And then, or you can't get anyone, just throw a number out and just say, hey, look, the worse it smells, the more interested I am. That's a great comment. But you can say, hey, well, look, the situation here is there's a wire that's hanging down. It looks like it's connected to the power point. And what does it cost to remove that? Oh, mate, I do them all the time. That costs $500 to remove. Cool. It's now $1,000. Like, you just put it on. So this is the email that I sent to a property real estate agent after the pest and building inspection and after I got some numbers going. Hey, agent, I trust you well. As discussed, here is the pest and building report we had for this property. Now, one thing that I always do is I call the agent before I email. Always speak over the phone and say, oh, look, mate, hey, you know, agent, just letting you know, we found some issues and we're looking to get them resolved. So I just wanted to talk you through it so you can prepare your vendor for it, but this is what's coming. So be prepared. Now, once you're under contract with a real estate agent, they're
more committed.
They're on your side. They've done their job. My job is done as a real estate agent. I don't want to sell it again. I don't want to run opens. I've just sold this deal. So they're more likely to help you out. Now, obviously, it's not their job to help you out, but they do.
I think the thing you want to be, because I've been on the seller side, is you want to get it you want to get it very clear and speak to work with your conveyancer on the wording, because often a real estate agent will say, yeah, but what they're promising is different to what they're expecting. So you need to be careful on what the wording is. Have you ever had to be very particular on that, or have the conveyancers be very particular on that, Joe, when you're buying something? That make sure something is repaired. Well, I suppose you just get a discount. You don't. You
set the price.
Yeah.
So I'm going to run.
You don't want them to have to go and repair it or whatever, because that's just more friction.
Well, you can and you can't. Like, it depends. Like, I had other ones where it's like, there's a hole in the ceiling. Can you just fix it? Like, oh yeah, I'll get the agent has connections. I'll just do it, and it's a cleaner contract rather than asking for money. You just do it. And some vendors want to do it, some vendors don't. So I'll give you the ultimate email that I use every single time when I'm asking for a discount from an agent.
You're going to show us, or are you
no, definitely not. It's my inbox. I can't show you. It's got the address as well. I can't show you that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Talk to you, and we're on the podcast as well. If people are still around, are people still around? It says there's 20 people sitting in here, so I just don't know if there are.
Lots of people.
Hey, agent, I trust you well. As discussed, here's the pest and building report we had on X property. We want to have full transparency so you know exactly what we know. The report has come back with a number of major defects and minor defects. The key points are below and a full list attached. We would be requesting a discount on the purchase price of $22,000. This isn't enough for the full garage, new guttering, grouting the bathroom, fixing the tiles, repinning the stumps that would have caused the crack, as we would be closer to $27,000 to $35,000. However, it's a way for us to somewhere meet in the middle. Here is the list of major and minor defects. Termites in the garage, termites in the back of the property, termite treatment on the entire property, down pipes and gutters, full replacement on the entire property, replacement of the eaves and boards, grout and silicone to be replaced in the bathroom, garage roof leaks, asbestos, fence removal. This sounds like a shithole, doesn't it? It's actually, and I'm building up this case for how terrible the place is. Undersink pipe work, repairing ceiling, and poor patch job on air conditioning, taps and sink, untradesman-like repair in laundry. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I have attached the property report. You know exactly what I know, and that's it. And then I got a $22,000 discount. Guess what? We repaired all of these things. It cost us $11,000, and my client kept $11,000 for himself. And we also bought it $25,000 under market value because it was an ugly duckling because it had some issues, but we got a discount on that. And then we got a discount on our discount. And then we got all the things fixed from the vendor. Crazy. But do not use a buyer's agent. They're a waste of money, time, and effort. Don't bother.
Well, I think you gave away the secret sauce, though, Joe.
There you go. I hope that was valuable, guys. Hope that was valuable.
There's a couple of questions that I saw, but it's just, you could almost this one. Would you compromise any of the rules if there are great potentials on the property site for capital growth, rezoning? While some rules impact, they do not necessarily impact and bank valuations for equity pool. That's an interesting one because I think if
Victor.
Yeah, I'm of the view, particularly even like a flood or a fire. If you're my view is if you're concerned, or if you're seeing something, a lot of other buyers are going to see the thing. So I think resale value may be an issue, and I think that they don't necessarily impact bank valuations. I think it will potentially impact bank valuation because a bank is they get valuers out there. They're an extremely risk averse sort of organization machine. So I think if you're asking yourself that question, compromising, or if you're compromising, then are other people going to compromise? I mean, I don't know. I don't.
Yeah. It's easy to buy, hard to sell. Like if you buy a dump, but also like an example of these rules that I have, which we can go. We won't go back to them. But rule 1 is don't buy with an easement. Well, if my client, if you don't want to do a subdivision, an easement across the back lot doesn't matter. Like that's fine. Don't if there's an easement. Another one, that T intersection junction, general rule, don't do it. But also, if the house hasn't got front windows along where that junction affects, and it's a quiet street, it doesn't really matter because the headlights aren't going to go into the front windows. It's only when the front windows are right there and it's right into your lounge room when you're sitting at having dinner at nighttime and into the kitchen. So absolutely. Yeah. You've got to have some flexibility on the rules. Some of the major ones are flood zones. Do not buy in a flood zone. It's just don't, just don't. 2, bushfire. You can buy in some bushfire zones. Just be very particular about them. They're not all created equal. And easements, not the worst. Covenants on the title and that kind of stuff. You've got to make sure.
Understand what you're getting yourself into, I suppose.
Yeah. If there's a right for someone to walk past, that's not really a problem, is it? But if it's the right for someone to do something else, I don't know.
Yeah. Percentage discount in compromised property, same discount or more on way out. So that's a question, I think. That's
a riddle. That's what that is.
Percentage discount, same discount or more on way out. Oh, okay,
yeah. So you're saying you might get $20,000 discount. Yeah.
And then $30,000.
Yeah, you sell it. You sell it. And that's a great point. That's actually
Victor's still watching. Jeez. We answered questions. Yeah.
Good man. This has been a fun one. I hope people got value out of this. I think that these type of things aren't talked about enough, and this is the boring stuff of property investing. Like this is the stuff, the due diligence, the little bits and bobs that I think you need to know. Like this is the little 1%ers. So thank you everyone very much for spending the time on this session.
Thank you, Joe, for preparing that slide. I'm having just prepared one a couple of weeks ago myself for that joint venture and newsletter. Let us know what your thoughts on the newsletter and just because Joe spruced that up. But yeah, I know how long it takes to put this together. So thanks for doing that for the audience and for the community. And there's plenty of kind of, I even sort of picked up a thing or two as well, just sort of along the way, or just reinforce some things to me that I'm like, yep, that actually makes sense. Kind of, yeah. So good stuff. Well done. So Joe, if people want to, there was from Haley and the property you bought for her and her partner. So how do people reach out to Joe Tucker if they want to learn more? He's busy.
Yes, I am a little bit. So I only work with 5 to 8 clients at a time. And this is why we don't talk. I don't talk about, this group is not about my business. This is not about, bringing leads in, but I've got I work with 5 to 8 clients. So I'm kind of fully booked at the moment. So if you're looking to buy a property tomorrow, I probably can't help you out, but I'm always happy to chat property. So if you're interested in buying a property, reach out. propertyprinciples.com.au. That's the website. Book in the discovery call consultation. I do all the buying, the finding, the negotiating, and the securing. I'm not one of these big agencies that has just farms it out to other people to do their dirty work for them. I'm going to these locations and I've flown to every spot. And if I'm buying in a place, I've been to that place and I know that there's value there. And I use data to find the bloody place. So thank you, mate. This was a good one. I feel like there was a lot of value there. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm biased.
Someone's tying up their laces.
Yeah, his boots on the ground.
I'm not going to go anywhere in my Ugg boots. So, but yeah.
Not today. Not tonight. I'm going to bed. Thank you very much, guys. Let's go buy a property. Let's jump on a plane and let's secure an amazing deal. See you later.
On the ground, boots.
Thanks, Jeff.